Welcome back to the basics of hand lettering. As always, I'm your host.
Why does it look like he recorded this from a VHS that he found at Goodwill?
I think that's the point.
Today is the final episode of the basics of hand lettering. I'm so happy this series came together and that it all worked out like it did. I'm almost at 100 subscribers. That is so cool. Whenever I hit 100, I'm going to have a party, and I'm going to give someone a free t-shirt, because it's what I do. Alright, today you're going to need, again, the same tools as the last episode, Photoshop. We're not going to be working a ton in Illustrator. I'll show you a texturing technique I use in Illustrator, but that's about it for Illustrator today. Also, you're going to need a couple basic textures, which I'm going to provide for you, because I'm a kind son of a gun. And I give my things away for free. So I'll put the link to the Dropbox with a couple textures in the description, because I love you. So without further ado, let's hop right in and let's get texturing.
The first thing we're going to do is open up the file that we've been working in over our time for these tutorials. And I just created a folder for that on my desktop. Awesome. There it is. Alright, here's a disclaimer for this episode. This is not, since we're working in Photoshop, I'm not trying to preserve the pixels or anything like that. Of course, I'm not going to make it pixelated and gross looking, and that's why we're using a high resolution file. But we are going to just kind of grunge it up and make it look cool, and that's the point of this. The point of this is not to make a very clean, workable, scalable file. It's already pretty big, but the point is just to show you good coloring and texturizing techniques, and a lot of the time that's going to mean you have to rasterize and play with the text a little bit. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is figure out a good color for our foreground and background. And what I like to do is usually just invert it first, and that's Command I. Invert the text and the background. And I kind of like it on black. If maybe we don't want to use black for this particular file, and so let's just find a color we do like. Definitely a darker color, because we established that the white looks a lot better on that black. Let's go with kind of a dark blue. I like that. I think it looks great. Alright, and I'm going to show you how you can easily colorize your nature layer. If we hide the background, we can see that it is only our typography on this layer, and there's no fills between the A and the E and stuff like that. And so it'll be really easy to just double click on the image, the little thumbnail, and then I'll bring up this layer style panel, and then we can just go to color overlay and then make it anything we want. I usually set it to a yellow. I think that would look kind of cool. Let's desaturate that and make it a little lighter. And then you can always play with it up and down. If you like it, make sure you just copy the color code, Command C, and then you can play with it. Actually, that looks even cooler. So I like that one. And you click OK. Bam. So now, but all it is a color effect. So if you want it to stay that way, so you can add effects over that and textures and stuff, you want to right click, and then you're going to have to rasterize that layer style. And there you go. So that is how you colorize your text. And this is really the basics of colorizing the foreground and the background. This should be very simple, and most of you should probably know how to do this already if you have any experience in Photoshop. Alright, next I'm going to show you how to texturize this. And so I'm going to give you a couple free textures again, and these are going to be in the description. So just check those. My gift to you guys. I've made my own textures. I actually scanned a journal and leather and just like paint stuff. It's like I've done a lot of stuff. So let's open that. And then all I'm going to do is click V and just drag it right into our document. You can also just place it right into your document. I just chose to open it. What you're going to use a lot of the time is the blending modes right here. All of these. You need to get very familiar with these. If you screen something, it's going to knock out all the black. If you multiply something, it's going to knock out all the white. Alright, so this instance, we're going to screen it. And wow, it looks like someone spilt white paint all over our file. It's like not very cool looking. Okay, so now I'm going to constrain this texture within the type. And the easiest way to do that is just Option, click between the layers, and create a clipping mask. Wow, now it is just straight up inside of our texture. And like that was really easy, wasn't it? So that's just an easy way to put a texture straight onto your text with no funny business involved. And that way you can grab it, you can move it around, and that's how you use clipping masks. But for this instance, we're not going to do that. So I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna bring up, I like this fine grain up here. And so now what we're gonna do is select our whole entire piece of art that we've done, or typography. And then I'm just gonna go up to the layer above it, and I'm going to Command J. It's just gonna separate your selection from that layer. And you can hide that. So you still have your layer if you need it, but also now this is just a layer right on top of it. And what I like to do a lot is I like to constrain the boundaries to make it look more stampy. I covered more in depth in my stamp tutorial. But basically you just contract your selection and then duplicate it again and hide that. And now it's just all inside of there. And this is just gonna be a really light texture on this one. And now I'm going to merge these two layers. Always create a copy, just an extra copy of whatever you're playing with, because if you mess up and you can't go back, then you just have another one right under it. So merge those two, and really all this is just a bunch of trial and error. What I'm gonna do right now, because it's kind of easy, is just click on that white, right click similar, and knock all that white out. Bam, now we have a little texture that looks a little better and looks a little more professional grunge. It's cool. Straight up in our file. And so now let's say we want the background to look like just something a little funky. All right, I made these by scanning some messed up Polaroids. But yeah, you can tell these are really intense. I just basically smudged a lot of messed up Polaroids and then scanned them on my scanner at a really high DPI. I think it was like 1200. And that's how I got these really cool looking textures. And you can always make your own if you have a scanner. It's really easy. You just basically put anything in there and then make it black and white with high levels. And that looks sick. So let's open that. Again, just drag it right into your document. Now bring it all the way to the bottom so it's below your text. And then now we're just gonna screen that and see how it looks. That looks pretty dope. It's pretty dope, but it's a little more industrial than I would like. And so I'm gonna open up the levels on that and bring down that black. Basically, it's just gonna blow out the black contrast in it. All right, now I'm gonna show you another way you can expand your texture and make that even cooler in Illustrator. I never texturize or anything like that within Illustrator because I don't really think it's built for that very well. I only use Photoshop for texturizing and grain. So I still have my layer up here of my texture. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make this black. What you wanna do before you do anything, make it black. Perfect. It's so black right now. And then I'm just going to contract it a little bit again by 8 pixels, and then perfect. What you're gonna do now is just you're gonna get your layers of texture and your layer of nature, and you're just gonna get it and you're gonna drag it right into Illustrator, and there it is. So now what we're gonna do is we can see our texture is really fine, and there's like, it's kind of pixely. What we're gonna do now is just image trace it. See how I changed that texture a little bit? Kind of made it a little more rough. And so go to your image tracing mode and then ignore the white. And then play with the noise. The more you bring it up, the more noise it's gonna have. And now you like bringing up the threshold. The more you have, the more black it's gonna have, and the less you have, the more white's gonna show through. Awesome. And then the white is ignored, always make sure. And now I'm just going to expand that. So now it is also a vector, as you can see. So I'm just gonna get this Drag it right into Photoshop. Line it up. Hide that bottom layer. Rasterize it. Change the levels. I had a CMYK document open, so the black's gonna be a little weird. And then there, that is a really, really easy way to texture and to get a different effect of your texturing. And then again, I'm just going to get that pink, mask it. There you go. Super easy, really easy stuff.
Alright everybody, that was the episode for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a lot. We covered a lot of basic techniques for coloring and texturizing your typography in Photoshop and a little bit in Illustrator. Mainly what I want you to pull from today is just how easy it is and how many options you can create through coloring and through texturizing your artwork and all the different things you can do. We've only scratched the surface of all the effects you can make within Illustrator and within Photoshop. I'll definitely be adding more tutorials on texturizing and different styles of hand lettering and all that kind of stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Your support means the world. Subscribe for future updates, and that's about it.